This episode contains heartfelt conversations about pregnancy, infant loss, and resilience. Please listen with care and pause if you need to. This is How Do I Do This? The show for anyone asking, is it just me or is this a lot? Grief changes how we carry our stories, and sometimes it silences them too. My mom had a stillborn child before I was born. And before I became a mother, I never really appreciated how heavy that must have been for her. To carry that silence, to not really talk about it, and yet to show up as a mother every day. And that's why today's conversation is really important. My guest today is Denisse Tamez, and she's going to tell us, how do we show resilience, how do we mother, and how do we carry an unimaginable grief at the same time? By the end of this conversation, you're going to discover how a mother to a 2-year-old who has experienced the unimaginable is using the tools she has to carry forward each day. You're going to hear Alana's story and why saying the name of a child who was with us even just a short amount of time is important. And you're going to understand how maybe our mothers and our grandmothers back in the day didn't feel like they could give voice to a pain like this, but how Denisse and I are changing the narrative and giving voice to a pain that maybe not everybody has talked about before. Denisse, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Ryanne, for having me in your kitchen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So a tradition we have on this show is that we always have tea in honor of my grandmother, Mabel, because she was always spilling the tea and having tea with the church ladies. So what did you choose today?
Ginger.
Okay, awesome. And I chose the immunity boost because that's usually what I go for. So I want to start with you just telling your story and helping me understand what your pregnancy was like and how you learned about Alana, and just kind of walking us through what that looked like for you.
Okay, sure. So as you mentioned, I have a 2-year-old, soon to be 3. Bella, my firstborn, will be 3 in November. And funny that I found out I was pregnant with Alana kind of right around this time last year. Mm-hmm. So I think like the second-ish week of October. She was definitely not planned, but very happy. We always knew we wanted more children, so we were super happy to find out we were going to have her. My pregnancy was very challenging, first and second trimester, because I was doing senior director role at a big company, and I was under so much pressure. There were a lot of issues with like layoffs and just like a very toxic work culture. So I also had to hide my pregnancy, which was kind of just challenging, even though I was remote. But just like, aside from that, like textbook pregnancy, like just like boring, like no health issues, nothing at all. Just like growing normal, healthy baby. I even think I had like a healthier pregnancy with Alana than with Bella. Just like I worked out more, I ate better, all the vitamins.
You just felt good.
Yeah, I felt good. Especially when I stopped working, which was around early February when I stopped working at my company. And then I just kind of like focused on enjoying the pregnancy, celebrating her. I had 2 baby showers. We're just like so excited to meet her. I was being monitored consistently with my OB and like the maternal high risk specialists, even though I wasn't high risk, but it's just like protocol, and you get even cuter ultrasound. So I'm here for it.
Yeah.
It was a happy pregnancy because with Bella, my husband was working so much that he couldn't make it to many of my checkups, but my husband Frederick was there with me almost every OB visit, which in hindsight, I'm so glad he was, just because he got to see her so many times. And because I had a very difficult labor story with Bella, where I was in labor for like 36 hours and finally had to go through an emergency C-section, I was very vocal and advocating for myself that because of the size of my babies, almost 10-pound Bella. I just knew that
10 pounds.
almost, you know.
Gosh.
And Alana was bigger than Bella. So, but I just like knew that I'm like, I know my body and I don't think I can get this baby out on my own. So we had a scheduled C-section, which my doctors and my friends and family that had gone through a scheduled C-section said like, no, it's like a walk in the park if you compare it to like an emergency.
Right.
So we had that scheduled for June 18, and I'd gone through like the last visits, you know, like last fetal stress test, the last like OB. I'd even gotten like blood work the day before just so, and I had like my Piedmont bracelet. So I was like pre-admitted. I didn't have to show up like 1,000 hours before, you know, it just like had everything ready. And the night before we headed to the hospital, my parents had flown in, and we had like a really special night because the power went out. This was like June 17. And we had like complete darkness. We had to order food because we had no power. We had like candles, and it was like just like a very special night with like my husband, Bella, and my parents just like in the candle night, just like packing my like last finishing touches from my suitcase, you know, just just putting them in before with candles. So I had been very stressed like the last 2 days just because of my previous C-section, and I was just like anxious about the surgery, recovery, but nothing in my mind could prepare me, you know, for what I was going to live the next day. But that last night, I guess because I took like the sign of the storm and the power going out as like a moment to like slow down and just kind of like enjoy those last moments. And I'm kind of really glad I did. Like everything happened how it had to happen. And the next morning, I did my makeup, hair, no makeup nonetheless, but I looked terrible in all my photos from Bella. So I'm like, no, I'm going to have good photos this time.
No, I appreciate that.
And I just like, you know, we went into the maternity ward, and as they start to, you know, get me ready for the surgery, we just need to get like the baby's vitals, and the nurse is fumbling with a dopal and like this, and they say, oh, this one I think is like, this is not working, goes out, brings another one in, and she's like, oh no, I can't hear. And I'm like, what's going on? That's
so the equipment
was like wonky. Okay. And I kind of wanted to think like, no, like this is normal, because when we did sometimes like ultrasounds or like practice breathing, they would have to get out this, I'm not joking, like this kind of like whistle, like, you know, I just kind of make this annoying sound, and then she would start like, you know, just cooperating.
They had to do that with my son too, to like just kind of wake him up a little bit because he was like sleeping.
Yeah. Exactly. So because they sometimes had to do this, and then she would like cooperate, or we would be trying to get like a photo so that I could print out and take with me, and she would put her behind on the camera or her hands like on her face. So I'm just kind of like not stressing so much at this point. And like I said, like my job is to put out fires. So I'm like, she's probably hiding, you know, or the machine is broken, or this nurse is new. And then she's like, I'm just going to go get my colleague. And I'm like, no, what's going on? Like someone has to tell me what's going on. And then they said, I'm gonna call the doctor, and they call the doctor who was like on guard, like not my OB, but she's and she walks in and she's like, says the worst words a parent can ever hear. I'm so sorry, there's no heartbeat. And I start screaming over and over again, like, no, God, please, no, like let this be wrong.
And I'm sure, I mean, did part of you think it was wrong? Like they were wrong?
Yes. Part of me and my husband was saying, you guys are wrong. We just saw this. Like I saw the heartbeat on the camera. I mean, on the monitor, I saw heartbeat that's very high. That couldn't be hers. I'd be dead, you know, like, and plus I'd heard, unfortunately, this club that I've become, like I have close friends that have been part of this club. And I know that they have reported this like low fetal movement. But this girl was moving on the way to the hospital. So what are you talking about? There's no heartbeat, when I was contracting in front of them. Like my stomach was still moving. So the doctor said, wait, I'm going to get another doctor because I may be wrong. So, I mean, you're an OB. How many babies have you delivered? How many ultrasounds? Like, to say I may be wrong, she wanted to be wrong, and I think the anesthesiologist was outside. He'd come in to speak to me about just like what he was going to give me. And I was even like micromanaging him, like, and I need you to give me this and this because last time, so I was just like very vocal about what I wanted. And,
Sure.
and he's like, and someone else, and they were like, no, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. There's no heartbeat. And nothing can prepare you for these words. I mean, there's nothing that you can ever do or like train in this situation. And then immediately they start flooding you with information, just like all these things.
In your job, you're a trained person who deals in PR and crisis. And so like you're used to dealing with the unexpected.
And to fixing things.
And then now you're dealt this hand of cards that there's not an answer to.
There's no answer. So I'm just like, what do we do? And I said, okay. And a lot of that day, honestly, has vanished from my brain. Like, I don't really remember everything. I wish I could. And I pride myself on having just a photographic memory of every single thing. I know city streets from cities I've been once, like in my brain, I can recite like streets down a grid, but I cannot tell you about that day. It's just like it's just like loss. And it's probably for my own good, The brain, I guess, has a way of dealing with trauma and just like, just forgetting things that are not good for us. But I remember I said something like, I need to call my mom, but not because I need my mom. I mean, I will always need my mom, but I need to tell her, because we need to start moving this. And I even tried to think that day how I could say this to her in the gentlest way possible, because I knew that if I broke down and screamed, like I would crush my mom for the rest of her life. And I didn't.
You're her baby.
I'm her baby, losing my baby. So I called her and I said, Mom, and I am like, I don't have a poker face. I'm the worst poker player in the history. You can tell everything all over my face. Like if I don't like food I was given to taste, or if I don't like a person, like there's no way to, kind of pretend I'm not good at this. So but she could tell by my voice, and I'm like, Mom. And my mom was thinking when she saw me ring her at like 7 a.m, oh, she must have forgotten something, and she wants me to bring it to her later. And I just said, I need to tell you something. Alanita is no longer with us. She's in heaven. And I need you to come down to the hospital. Okay? I love you. Like without crying. And my mom went to tell my dad and broke down. And that makes me so sad. I just want to pause
and say, like, you're so remarkable in the fact that you are carrying such a heavy message, but in that time, you could stop and show love for your parents too. And that's amazing. You're an amazing person, because I'm not sure that I would have been able to do that. I'm not sure that a lot of people listening would have been able to do that. And that's so kind.
Oh, thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you. I just felt that I was seeing myself as like this out of body experience, and just trying to think, the best way. This is what I do for a living, crisis management. And I'm like, how can I communicate? Yeah. How can I, there's not going to be a good way, but how can I, make this in a better way? So that was like one decision to make immediately. And then the doctors told me, well, and this is the thing that like every single grief mom that I've spoken to is just like, you get the news, like your baby dies. And then you're just kind of like thinking about all these things, but then you have to deliver a baby that has died. And then you're like, oh my God, like you don't really think about it, and you kind of like forget, like We need to get the baby out.
Right.
And it's something that people don't really talk about. Like, like you deliver a baby, even if the baby dies, no matter, I guess, the outcome will always be different depending on circumstances. Like if you're had like a placenta abruption, and there's things that are like, time sensitive, like go, 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 go. Like mom can, have serious complications, but there's also, other, depending how far along you were in the pregnancy. And like I said, like I'm not a medical doctor, but every circumstance, would just mean that you have a different timeline or a different procedure. I was told, so this was exactly week 39, day 0. So 39 weeks. And they said, you have 3 options. One option is to go with the regular C-section we had scheduled, where you'll just be sedated, but you'll be awake, you won't be in pain, and, we'll take her out. Option B will be that you go under general anesthesia, just completely asleep. The only thing is that Frederick, your husband, he's not allowed to be in the operating room under general anesthesia. I don't know why. So he'll have to wait outside. And option 3 is you can try to naturally deliver her. Although that might not work. And if it does, we'll like induce you. And if it doesn't work, you'll end up in an emergency C-section. I'm like, why would you even give me that choice? That's not a choice.
Right.
So I'm thinking, and I said, I want the C-section I had planned, because the reason I chose this, and I literally told my husband this response like 3 weeks ago when we were talking, and he said, why didn't you decide to be under general anesthesia? I mean,
because that seems like it would have been in some ways a little easier for you.
The easiest choice, in the sense that you go to sleep, you don't really know anything, you're just kind of like, and you kind of avoid being awake and conscious. And I said, because you already lost your daughter at this point. And to think of him sitting in a hospital room, like being alone and scared without his family. His wife is like in an operating room and he has to sit there. That broke my heart. I'm like,
so again, you showing up in a loving, kind way for other people. Amazing.
I think this is just Alana giving me a lot of strength and just showing me the answers right along and just being able to make decisions. So I just wanted him to avoid like those hours of not having, anyone to hold him and be close to him. So I chose that. And it was a gentle C-section. I can say, like the doctors were kind, the nurses were kind. I wasn't in any pain. I was aware of everything that was happened. And I met her and we held her. And Ryanne, she is the most beautiful baby I've seen in my life. All the doctors and nurses said so. And they said, like, we're not just saying this because she's your daughter. She truly is gorgeous, like just the perfect nose and lips and hair. And she's rosy and pink and perfect. Just
like a little cherub.
Yes, just gorgeous, a little doll. And the nurses said that we could spend all the time we wanted with her. And we held her and sang to her and took photos. And I'm so glad I did that. The nurses said, you might feel weird about this. If you do, like, you can always not see the photos or not take them with you or just like store them somewhere. And if you're ever ready, you can have them. But I mean, you'll never get to go back to that day. I think like at some point, I mean, I know I could have had her a couple of days. I knew that the longer I spent time with her, it would be harder to give her up. So I said that same day, I said that we were going to say goodbye. I wanted to honor her memory in
so that I'm clear. The day you walked in to have her is the same day you said goodbye.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to honor her memory, and I know that like, so the hospital is great that they have this crib, and it's called this kind of like cold, like this kind of, I don't really remember the name, but imagine that it's like a beautiful little like clear bassinet, but it's cold. So this helps the babies, just maintain just their beautiful features and not like their bodies decompose. Let's talk about things how they are, that before this happened. I mean, like in other hospitals and other countries sometimes that don't have access to these little cribs, they need to send the babies to the morgue, and then bring them back when the parents want to see them, So I think it's beautiful that parents and families can spend all the time that they want and need with their baby, and these little cots, help the families.
I had no idea those existed. That's
I
great
didn't
for,
either.
That's
I
great
didn't
for
either.
people to know. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. So I just knew that I wanted to honor her memory, and as hours passed, she wouldn't be as rosy and pink and perfect as she was immediately, and I wanted to honor her and always remember her that way.
Yeah. So what do you want people to know about her and about her spirit? Because I know when I was growing my son, even before he was on this side of earth, I knew who he was. And I've talked to a lot of moms who feel similar. Like, I knew what his personality was going to be. Did you have a sense about Alana? And if so, tell us about her.
She is calm and gentle and just such a peaceful presence, such a joy, just perfect. I mean, I know that she's not here just because she came to fulfill a short, like, earthly mission, and she had to go back,
Yeah. So in the months since, how have you and your family honored her? If you're okay.
Yeah, of course. So when you're at the hospital, you have to, like I said, you have to make a lot of decisions, almost like immediately. Right before going into my surgery, since all of my friends, my family, our community, everyone knew now that it was like a scheduled C-section, June 18. I had another thought, PR girl, just like everyone, like my phone is going to be ringing off the hook, and Frederick's and my parents and just everyone like, oh, is she here? Send us photos. And I need to crisis manage this before this happens. I just could not imagine having to say one by one, like no.
Repeatedly. That would have been terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wrote something on my iPhone notes, and I'm just in a complete state of shock, And then I just like shared it and had Frederick share it, and we put it on social media and had our parents, and just people just share this note saying, that with shattered hearts, we shared that Alana was here, but she was born sleeping and she was in heaven, and just kind of preparing myself. And I don't know how I did that, honestly.
I don't either.
Writing a press release from the hospital bed, like.
Yeah, you're remarkable. I mean, again, like, but I think you said something earlier that I even feel now, is that she had a peaceful presence, and so I do think in a lot of ways our children help us in hard times. I know my son's done that for me with the passing of my mom in small ways, and I know that she's still doing that for you now, like even now sitting here able to share things and bring hope to people.
I know.
I think she's helping you.
I think so too. Like I said, my C-section with Bella was horrific. And I think that maybe after 4 hours, I was like walking around like, the hospital as if nothing had happened. And everyone was looking at me like I'm not going to lie, I'm more athletic, and healthy than a lot of people in that sense, but still. And I knew immediately when I was at the hospital that, because with Bella, I think I had to stay like 5 nights. I said, we're taking her home tomorrow. Like, I'm going home. Alana is no longer here. She's not here. And I'm going home because I have another daughter that needs me, that we need to show up for.
Yeah.
And the doctors were like, well, this is fast, to be discharged after, a C-section. Less than 48 hours is very unusual, but I mean, let's see if you can do it. And I'm like, what do I need to get out? What do I need to do? And they were like, well, you need to pass like a lot of tests, blood work basically on this. If everything looks good, we're going to let you out. So obviously in the state that I was in, I was pretty catatonic, but I said to myself, okay, step one, we're getting released. So bring on the protein shake, bring on, even though the last thing you wanted to do after you lose a child and have recovering from a C-section is eat. I'm like, I'm going to get out. This is how I get out. This is how I get out.
So I can go mother my other child.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was released. So that was my first win. I was released from the hospital less than 48 hours. And when we slept in our own bed in our room, like at home, and I woke up, I said, Alana, I need a sign. I need a sign to know that you're here. And as I go to my window and I, turn up the blinds, and I have a magnolia tree in my window, and there's one single flower. And I just knew it was her. And the funny thing is that I took a photo and I shared it with my Instagram, like signs when you need them the most. And I have a group of close friends that are my life. And they're friends from different, times, but they kind of united and did like a little small group chat to talk about how they could support me. And
that's amazing.
I know, it's amazing. The funny thing is that they had talked and they said they wanted to send something to honor Alana and to support us. And they were crying when they saw my story. Someone screenshotted it and sent it to the group, because that night when she died and we were at the hospital, they were looking at what to send me, and they were like saying like no flowers because he's gonna get a million of them, and then it's work for her to have to like throw them out and water them, and I'm also like super allergic. So they decided like a tree, and they were debating, should we get a birch, should we get this? And someone said no, a magnolia. I don't know why, but she's so aesthetic and she likes white and a magnolia, and they had bought me like a Gardens of Hope or something, like this company. I don't really remember the name of the company. I'm lying, but so they had already sent a magnolia and it was on its way. And the morning,
in that morning you saw that.
I saw that. So
I love that.
There's all these like tales of beauty and just signs and magic after she left that keep on happening, one after another.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
And I want to say her name again because I think my mom, I don't know the details of that day with my mom because I always knew it was something she wasn't comfortable talking about outside of tears. And it was the 80s and small town Alabama. I don't even know if there was a mental health professional. I don't know. I now think I realized that she never really processed a lot of her grief with it. And so that's why it always came out as tears. And so thank you for sharing with me so that I can understand her better and how she mothered me. So tell me, how have you shown up for Bella, who your firstborn, who's with us, who's almost 3? Tell us what mothering her in this space looks like now.
Okay, and first of all, thank you for sharing that, because I cannot imagine, that invisible pressure, that you had from your mom, and that must have been really challenging. So I honor you telling me this.
Thank you.
As for Bella, like I said, I knew I needed to leave the hospital and be with her immediately. I knew when I left the hospital, like I told you, I made a lot of hard choices. A choice Frederick, my husband, and I made was that we would not let sadness define us or our family.
Can you say that again?
We would not let sadness define us or our family.
Oh, that's such a choice. That's a choice.
That's choice.
Yeah.
We
I got chills.
And I'm telling you, this strength comes from her. You know, I used to like just cry and crumble over such silly things before this happened to me. And now, like, who's this big girl in her big girl pants? Like, you know, just like, you know, talking about grief, like, and not breaking down. It's, you know, that would not be possible. I would not be here if it wasn't for her, you know? Mm. So that's kind of part of my story. And like I said, we said that we would not let this define us. And we had a choice. We had a choice to show up for each other, to stay strong for each other. We didn't want to be one of those couples that falls apart because they lost a child.
And that happens a lot.
I know. So we had to show up, you know? And I also knew that I wanted to do something beautiful and with intention to honor her, you know, every day for the rest of her life. So having Bella already as like an older child is something, you know, like you can't change how these things like happen to you. Like if this is your first child, that dies, you know, I can't imagine, you know, how you feel after, because I mean, at least I had the experience of, you know, my first pregnancy, my first delivery, like I got to leave the hospital with a baby. So even now I count my blessings that like, yes, I lost Alana, but you know, when like my first experience, you know, was like a happy one. Not everyone gets that. So at least I have to, you know, see that silver lining. And the thing is, being a parent to a toddler is rough. Anyone knows that.
Yes.
And I think that part of you sometimes says like, well, I wish I could just stay home and just like cry and
stay in the bed
and not have to parent and not parent. Yep. And maybe, you know, work on yourself, self-help, heal. You know, you can go on a meditation retreat, you can go on a spa, you can travel.
We did not have those options.
You can travel with your husband, you know, go to Italy, you know, like just like, you know, go on a wine tasting tour. I mean, what you do and how you know, just heal yourself after grief is very individual, and every process will look different to everyone. You do what you have to do, you know, but having a toddler means that my first responsibility, June 19, when I was home, I said, I need to give Bella not a happy childhood, not be a good mother, like that's way down the line. I need to give Bella a happy summer. And the thing is,
so you broke it down into a small
project.
Yes.
Because obviously,
I love that.
When you're staring into, you know, this like black, you know, like mirror, you're like going to be completely overwhelmed if you try to think way into the future. So I think
so wise.
Right? Something that helps with grief is just like baby steps, you know, because if you can break it down, it also helps that like you're able to do one small thing, and then that kind of empowers you and makes you think you confidence. Can get to the next step and you can take it, you know, as it goes. So I just said like, we need to give Bella a happy summer. So I don't think it'd been like not even 3 weeks. We took her to Florida. We drove down to 30A, and did I want to be there every day at the pool or at the ocean or just no, like, but it was important for Bella, you know, to have a sense of normalcy, you know, and that assumed
mom, and that this is hard, but our family's going to be okay.
Yeah. And just let her know, like, you know, we will get through this. We're not moving on, we're moving forward. And, you know, we're still going to have happy memories and be able to, you know, grow something beautiful.
Yeah. You mentioned about how everybody grieves in a different way. What does, say, a normal Wednesday look like for you? And what are some tools that for any mom who is finding themselves with maybe a pregnancy hasn't gone as long as yours went, or that or has experienced something recently like you have, or even if if my mom was around and she was listening to this, what are some things that you do that you feel like have really helped you?
A normal day. So I think that when I wake up, I try to not grab my phone first thing in the morning.
Okay.
I've been much more intentional now about this, just because I want to give myself kind of this like natural state where I'm not like overwhelmed by information, and especially with everything that's going on, like just like political and social, I think
it's easy to be overwhelmed.
Exactly. We're grieving because of what we're going through as a country, as a society. Yeah. So
everybody's carrying hard stuff, and it's all hard.
It's hard. So I don't want to add that luggage to the luggage I already have. So I just try to, have a window of time where I'm not overstimulated by all these outside things. Mm-hmm. So I meditate 5 to 10 minutes. And then I go and get Bella from her room and I say good morning and I open up the windows and we set an intention for the day. So we
Do you mind sharing what yours was today?
Yeah. Just show up. So I try to make them short and easy so that she can repeat them as well. And I say, just show up. So it's if we don't want to go to school, just show up. If we don't want.
So again, that idea of a baby step, you don't have to win your preschool day. You just have to show up.
Just show up.
Yeah,
exactly. No matter what. And then because that helps me teach her that we can show up while at the same time honoring. We can show up sad. We can show up angry. We can show up, and that it's normal, but we still show up. Just that every feeling that comes with it is still valid. And that those feelings are temporary and they'll fluctuate throughout the month, throughout the season. But
for me, sometimes it's every hour. I mean, you're going to tell it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we do that. Then we go, I start getting her ready for school. She likes to be in control of what she wears, what she eats, everything.
Oldest child, of course she does.
All the things. And then I take her to preschool. I try to work out either before she wakes up or while she's at school. And then I shower and I start, come back, start getting back into work. So one thing that has helped me tremendously is going back to work, just being able to focus on projects, on just brands, just talking to adult professionals, gives me a sense of normalcy. I don't like to think that I lost my daughter and then also lose myself, my career and income, because then that's kind of multiple losses. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We've talked a lot on the show about how grief isn't just associated with death. It can be any form of identity loss, whether it's career change, divorce, losing a good friend. It could be lots of things. So that makes sense that you said, okay, I've experienced this one loss, but some days it can look different, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to do the best that I can so that I can flourish in these other areas. That's so strong. So if a mom is listening right now who is going through what you went through, what is one thing you want her to hear from you?
Healing isn't linear, and you will find joy again. You will be able to find a place where you can laugh, where you can enjoy things you used to, and that's okay. Don't feel guilty. Take things as they come and just know that you were your baby's safest place. They only knew love, and you did the best you could, you know?
That's beautiful. Well, before we leave, I always ask every guest a handful of questions so that everybody can get to know you better. I call it my Fabulous Five. So you've shared, I've learned so much from you about resilience and how to walk through this and just be, I mean, you're a badass. Let's just call it what it is, right? But what is a life lesson you talked about your mom or your grandma that you carry with you that sort of lives rent free in your head that you pull from on a regular basis?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that the more you're able to focus on the positive, the more you're able to see more positive things. So I'm not this crunchy granola mom, I swear. I mean, I kind of am.
It's totally okay if you are. It takes all kinds of mamas.
I'm like semi crunchy, but I'm just, it's very simple, and I'm quite pragmatic in some things. Like, you know, what you focus on expands. So, you know, like, you're thinking about babies, you start seeing babies everywhere, right? Like, you know, you
think about an orange car, you're going to see an orange car everywhere.
Exactly. So it's just kind of like, it's not even me just being like new age, you know, it's just kind of what you focus on expands. So if you are going to focus on one thing, be it the positive, be it the good, you know, and then, you know, you'll start to see more of it. So it's just kind of like something that I try to have as a daily practice.
Yeah. On Instagram, I'm really working hard to form a community of people where we can share resources. So what is something that when you're having dark moments that feels like really comforting to you?
Journaling.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, I feel that just like it's very cathartic to be able to just like pen and paper, you know, like scribble things down without stopping, you know, like with a keyboard and just kind of like deleting something or editing. We're much more critical when we're typing and we make a mistake in grammar, but just
delete so easy.
Exactly. Just writing it down, like, you know, put your thoughts on paper, unpack your feelings, you know, and you'll see that you'll start to feel better. Like the load gets a little bit lighter.
I love that. What is something that is really sacred and sentimental to you that's in your bedroom that brings you joy?
This is so funny. I have this like stuffed bunny. It's this pink stuffed bunny. Oh, my husband hates him. And he is probably like the size of a very big, well, the size of like my newborn kids, you know, probably like everyone else is 3 months.
So he's a
3 month old.
Yeah, he's a good size rabbit.
Yeah, good size rabbit, 0 to 3. And this is a story for another day, but I was held at gunpoint, robbed when I lived in Mexico City.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was like very traumatic, and I had bad PTSD from it. And then so I worked out a lot, and I showed up for one of my workout classes after I'd like taken like maybe a week off because I was too traumatized to go back. Also because it was like 3 p.m. bright Friday, like right in the middle of a day, like a very like normal like thing, you know. And my coaches had gotten me this pink rabbit and put it on my treadmill. So when I showed up to my class, like he was just there waiting. So it gave me so much comfort, you know, back then. And to this day, I still sleep with that ridiculous rabbit every single night. Like, it drives Frederick crazy, you know, and Bella's like, you know, Bella will steal him and I will crawl into her crib and steal him back.
Yeah, I understand. So I have a bear that I still sleep with as a 45-year-old woman that my mother made.
I love
and
that.
I have slept with that bear every day of my life. My husband has accepted it finally. He even jokes that when we travel and we're packing up and leaving a hotel, he even asks, like, did you pack blanket bear? And so, you know, everybody knows that that's a thing. So I get it. Like, it's weird how things that seem childish almost can still be comforting. But accepting, like, that's what makes you.
Right.
And my blanket bear makes me. And my friends joke around about it. And I don't even care because clearly I'm telling, an entire podcast that I'm 45 years old and an attorney and sleep with a bear. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Right. Like if the house is on fire, like you'll go get that bear, right?
100%. 100. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. So if you could ask God or whatever you call God one question and get an answer, what would that be?
When will I see her again?
Oh, I sort of suspected that would be it. So what is your ride or die phrase that you use? It can even be a swear word if you want, or something that you say when you're just kind of done with the day and things have gone sideways. And what is just something that you cling to? It can be a motto. It can't be a swear word if you want that.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if it was a swear word, but so it comes with a little bit of a background story so you guys understand. I think it was Renoir. I'm pretty sure, and if I'm not, sorry, but it was one of the painters. I'm pretty sure it was him. And if not, we'll fact check this, but I think he had arthritis and he was in so much pain at the end of his life, and he was still painting. Mm-hmm. And someone asked him, why are you still painting when you're clearly in so much pain? And he said, the pain passes, the beauty remains.
Oh.
And that's how I feel about living my life after Alana left. Just, it'll pass. But what she left us and her mission and her light, that's a gift to the world, and I have to share it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing Alana's story and sharing your story and your husband's story and your girlfriends who showed up for you. I feel like, can you take a moment and just list their names if you don't feel like you'll forget anybody? Because in a lot of the episodes we talk about the value of friendship, and I want to honor those women that are your inner circle.
Yeah, I know I'm going to forget because I have to I have to let people know, I may look good, but I'm still 3 months postpartum. So my postpartum brain and my memory fog.
And grief brain at the same time.
So just apologies if I forget, because I know there's so many people, but Elite, Paola, Diana, Lau, Chips, there's so many I wouldn't have the time, but every single one of my friends, you guys know who you are, and I love you.
Yeah. And they are such a gift this side of heaven, those core women, because they mother us when we're not able to mother ourselves.
Truly.
They show up. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So that's it for today. You can ache for who you were before everything changed and still become someone new. Grief and growth sit at the table, passing notes when we're not looking. This tea, this time is part of your healing, and it's part of mine too. You're not broken, you're just brewing. And besties, we don't gatekeep. So if there's something that filled your emotional cup today, share it with a friend. Like, follow, and share, and your seat at the table will be waiting for you next Tuesday. Along on Instagram at How Do I Do This Pod, and on YouTube at How Do I Do This Pod. DM me on Instagram and tell me what kind of grief you're holding right now. Seriously, I'll read every one and will probably be the person to respond back. Tell me what you have tried that you think might help me. I'm open to trying anything that's not illegal. Your story might find its way into one of our future episodes.